I just finished The Two Towers, the second book in the Lord of the Rings series, and I have a lot of different opinions now than I did when I finished The Fellowship of the Ring. So when I finished the first book, The Fellowship, I felt like I didn't mind the changes that they had made in the movie. I thought it was interesting, the different interpretations of the same story and how the changes affected the story and the characters. I wasn't too upset by any of the changes. I didn't feel attached to the first book, and there wasn't anything in it that really upset me. But after reading the second book, things have changed. So before we get to that, first, the second book is split into two parts. There's the first part, which is all about Aragorn and Legolas and Gimli, Merry, Pippin, so everyone else in the Fellowship. Then the second part of the book is all Sam and Frodo. So it doesn't flip-flop throughout like it does in the movie. It's just completely split right down the middle. And when I realized that, I was kind of worried, because in the movie I really like everything that's going on with the rest of the Fellowship, and I'm not really into what's going on with Sam and Frodo, because one, I'm not a huge fan of Frodo in the movies, and two, I didn't really like Gollum either. He was creepy, and when I first watched it, I was a kid and I thought he was disgusting and weird, and I didn't like him. So I didn't really like those parts of the movies. So the fact that the second half of the book was going to be all that, I was worried I was going to hit a slump and not be able to get through it. Yeah. But for the first half, I got through it really quickly. I chewed through that. It was really good and I really liked it. There were definitely changes, and I really liked reading the book, because there's so much more information in the book, obviously, than in the movie, and we get so much more of like the Ents, and we get more of Saruman and his defeat. In the book, or in the movie, it's like he is just defeated. Like they drown out his little workshop and he's stuck in his tower, and there's like a line from, I think, Gandalf, where he's like, yeah, he has no power now, and it's like, why? But we get a lot more in the book. There's a whole scene where him and Gandalf have it out. That was interesting, and I did like that. The changes weren't enough to make me feel like really different from when I finished The Fellowship of the Ring. I thought that the differences they decided to go with in regard to the King of Rohan, that whole scene when they first meet him was different, and it sort of made the scene in the movie seem kind of ridiculous and over the top. I wasn't sure how I felt about it, and I'm still not sure how I feel about it. I have mixed feelings about that. Once I finished the first half of the book, or the first part, it's a little bit more than half of the book, I was kind of worried to start the second part. I wasn't super looking forward to it, and so I didn't start it at first. I picked up another book and read that, and then I finished an audiobook that I've been working on, and finally, a couple days ago, I finally was like, yeah, you need to finish this book. You need to give it a chance. So I finally did, and yeah, it went a lot better than I thought it was going to. When it first started, when they're going through the marshes, I was like, I was having a hard time divorcing the image of Frodo I had from the movie from the image of him in the book, and it took a little bit to sort of separate them, In the movie, Frodo seems really young, and I don't know if it's just because they don't really touch on how old he is, but in the book, he's older. He's like 50, which I know in Hobbit years makes him closer to really 30, but still, he seems older and seems wiser because of his age and experience. Well, maybe not as much experience, but like his age and just his character seems wiser. I just don't like Frodo in the movie. He seems so weak and kind of pathetic, and I know that he's carrying this huge burden, but he seems so not suited to it because it's just too overwhelming for him. And the whole thing with him and Sam, like him getting suspicious of Sam and like getting all distrusting, and I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all in the movies. I don't like those kinds of tropes where you pit friends against each other just because there's a misunderstanding or distrust based on like a lie or a misunderstanding. But in the book, that doesn't happen. So there's so many changes in the book in regards to Sam and Frodo's like whole section, and there are a lot of changes all over the place, and I think the reason I'm fixating on these ones is because I care more. Like with the other sections, I liked the movie, like what the movie did in those sections. I enjoyed watching it, so like the changes didn't upset me because they didn't do anything that made me dislike the movie. Whereas with Frodo and Sam section, the changes that they made, they didn't help me like them more in the movie. Like it wasn't anything that I appreciated. I don't like it. I did not like the changes. The first thing that really changed things for me were the chapters involving Faramir. So in the movie, Faramir is this character that like you want more from. Like you want him to be better than he is. Like he's the younger brother of Faramir. He should be just like underrated. Like he's like the underdog sort of, like the second son. Not as well liked as Faramir by his father in the movie, and you just want him to be what he's not. Like in the movie, he just makes bad decisions and seems just like whiny, not whiny, but like just too hung up on being the second son and like trying to prove himself and win his father's love, which like I get it, but it just was like just made him not the character that I wanted him to be. And he's like the character that I wanted to like, really wanted to like more. He just did things that made me want to like strangle him. But in the book, he's everything that I wanted him to be. He was wise. He's respected among his men. He's a good leader. He's like thoughtful and just he's a good character. He's a good character in the book, and he doesn't do all those things that the movie Faramir does. He doesn't make all those bad choices. He's an actual hero doing what is right, and it just, the fact that they made those changes to his character just bothered me so much as I was reading, because it was like they twisted his character to make him less than what he was, and it wasn't a good change. It wasn't. I didn't like it. It was just a change they made to add drama and tension. And after reading that, it made me think about all the other changes and how they just didn't seem like before they seemed like semi-logical changes, like to make the story either more digestible or to just add a little bit of like intrigue or drama to it to just heighten the suspense. But this just seemed unnecessary, an unnecessary change. Now I'm not sure how I feel about the movies. They feel like some of the changes now feel cheap. Another big change is Frodo and Sam's journey up the stairs. Frodo, while he does have moments where he's like fighting the ring and like he runs to the doors, the gates when they reach the bridge, or he's like struggling not to put the ring on or whatever. We get that. But he's not as like weak and sort of pathetic as and helpless as he is in the movie. And he's more level-headed in the book. There isn't that tension between him and Sam as there is in the movie. There isn't that distrust between Frodo and Sam where Frodo thinks Sam's trying to take the ring from him because Gollum is manipulating him. That's not there. When they go into the tunnel where the spider is, they both go in and they both come out. That change I also didn't feel like was necessary. It was just to add tension, and I didn't like it. It changed Frodo's character and added something that I didn't enjoy in the movie, clearly, because I didn't like that part enough. I didn't like that part so much that I avoided it in the book, but then when I got to it, I liked it more. So yeah, and it's like all from Sam's perspective for the most part, and I really like that. We're getting a lot of him, and we see more of like what happens when Frodo is incapacitated by the spider, and Sam's whole like struggle to help him, but also to do what needs to be done. And yeah, I think before I make any solid decisions on how I feel about the movie versus the book, or the whole series of books versus the whole series of movies, I am going to need to finish the series, first of all, and also rewatch the movies. I'll probably end up doing that. Adding these changes sort of like they kind of make sense. There are definitely things that could happen, like you change the characters and they make these kinds of decisions, but I don't know if they should have done that. I don't know. Anyway, so those are my thoughts on the second book. I really enjoyed it, and I immediately started reading the third book right after I finished this one. I'm about 50 pages in, so it shouldn't take me long to get through that. The third book seems to be organized similarly to the second book, where there's part 1 and part 2, where the first part deals with the Fellowship and the company, all those, the Gimli, Legolas, Aragorn, all them, and then the second part seems to deal with Frodo and Sam. At least it seems like it. I'm only 50 pages in so far, so we shall see. And then also the third book is shorter than the other two. So it shouldn't take me very long to get through it. So what do you think of the changes made in the movies versus what's in the books? Do you think that they were worthwhile changes, or do you think they were unnecessary? Did they do a disservice to the characters, or did they change them in a way that like made it its own? I'm genuinely curious what people think. And then also, which book is your favorite? So right now, I really like book 2. So we'll see. Maybe book 3 will become the better of the 3. But I don't know. So let me know which one you like the best. Alright. Well, I will see you guys next time. And I hope you have a great weekend or week, depending on where you are in time right now. Bye.